Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. As always, I am here at Rocky Knob at the Jumpstart Skills area, Berms Central, and it's an apt place to be for another installment of the How-To Mountain Bike series. This is how to corner. And cornering is something that's really interesting for me because I straight up didn't do it for the first year and a half, and I didn't know it. I kept getting more and more aggressive tires and wondering why I still don't have grip and I still can't go faster on corners. As it turns out, I was steering the whole time. So I ended up taking a lesson. I learned a bunch of new kind of mantras, like how turning is steering, and how cornering is carving, and how turning is for slow speed, and how cornering is for high speed, and how turning is handlebars this way, and cornering is handlebars this way. And all those things are super helpful, and we'll dive into them more. But first I'm gonna talk about steering and turning at slow speed and some techniques that didn't pop out to me initially when I did that. Then berms, like these here, supported berms and how to ride those. And then finally how to step up, get that bike body separation, and really carve your mountain bike. Let's rock and roll. All right, so we're starting off with simple turning, which involves steering the handlebars. Not a lot to talk about, but I'm here at Kindergarten, which is the Green Circle True Beginner Trail, and it wasn't always beginner level for me. So this turn behind me is the very first turn on the trail, and it's kind of a hairpin, it's really tight. So at first, I can recall trying to go dead center and stay dead center throughout the turn, and I found that I couldn't really make it. I wondered what to do. So when you've got a slow speed, especially uphill, tight turning situation like this, what you actually want to do is set up outside as far as you can and paint the entire circumference of the widest part of the turn so you don't have to kind of angulate your bars quite as much. If your handlebar's touching your knee while you're riding, that's too far. All right, so another turning technique that I learned, and I should have learned a lot earlier, is the offset wheel path turn. Slow speed, often in really tight, kind of Euro style berms, whether they're uphill or downhill. So I'm here on Kindergarten again. I'm going downhill when you should be going uphill, just to exemplify this turn technique. When you don't really have enough room to paint the outside with the whole bike, what you do is set up inside with both wheels, do your braking, and then right when you get to the mouth of the turn, that's when with your front wheel you cut across the mouth and paint the circumference of the turn. Meanwhile, your back wheel just kind of pivots around the inside. So they're taking different paths, and it looks like that. Paint the outside. Pivot! All right, inside out. Gonna set up inside, slow down, paint across, and then I don't have to worry about making the turn. Yoo! Okay, so in between turning at slow speed and real cornering or carving is riding berms. And behind me is the infamous Big Bend berm at the end of Kindergarten here at Rocky Knob. So when I think about berm riding, it's kind of in between because yes, you're leaning the bike over, but you're also leaning your body over. It's still a 1-to-1 ratio. There's no like bike body separation. So what you do is you ride it just like it's a flat trail, it's a sideways trail. That takes some courage, as you've got to really commit to getting sideways. But there's really 4 things that I think about. Number 1, getting all your braking done before the berm starts. Number 2, getting about 1/3 of the way, like focusing as you enter, 1/3 of the way through the berm. That's where you want to simultaneously push and really dig in for traction, grip, rebound. And at the same time, the third thing is to swivel your head and sight the exit. Look where you want to go. So as you enter, you're sighting the 1/3. As you get to the 1/3, you're pushing and then scoping out the exit. And the last thing is, you don't necessarily want to corner, like really carve. You're still using the center knobs on your tires. You're just riding it again like it's a trail that happens to be sideways. If anything, you want to corner on the inside edge of your tire. Definitely not the outside, because then you might slip down. This is a great berm, by the way, to work with, because in the middle is all the rocks that people have kind of scraped off the berm. So you have to commit. Check it out. Okay, here comes the Big Bend. So I'm braking before the berm, looking 1/3 of the way through and pushing while turning my head. Here's the brakes, here's the push, sighting the outside, and you actually gain your speed back. Hey, one thing real quick. A great place to practice berms is on the pump tracks by Velo Solutions. So one here at Rocky Knob, there's also one at Johnson City at Tannery Knobs. There's little red lines at the tops of the berms that you really want to follow so that you can actually achieve what you're supposed to on a pump track, which is going all the way around without pedaling. But if you commit yourself to getting to those red lines, you'll fall unless you commit to getting sideways. So it's a great place to practice your berm riding and your commitment to the game. Okay, so we've talked about slow speed turns, we talked about berms, and now it's time for bona fide cornering or carving. And I'm glad I said the word bona fide because that's actually a model ski that I run. And skiing, thinking about skiing, is really how I unlock this for myself. So when you're a beginner or intermediate skier, when you're turning, you're usually you're not carving, you're like pivoting or skidding. The entirety of the base of the ski is touching the snow the whole time. And maybe you're engaging a little bit of the edge, but not much. Whereas if you're actually carving, you're tipping the skis over, both of them, and kind of balancing on the edges, and it actually accelerates you through the turn. When you turn, you go faster. So here is a freeze frame of me on my Blizzard Bonafides that have a neon color on the base only. And you can see as I'm turning here, I'm actually carving because you can see all that neon. That's what you want to do when you're on a bike. And what that means is, in terms of the tire, the center knobs aren't really going to be touching the ground. It's those corner knobs when you lean the bike over. So I'm talking about dropping the inside hand to lean the bike over. If I'm turning that way, I'm dropping the inside hand. It's not side to side like this. It's up and down. That way you're balancing on those carving corner knobs. But the thing is you've got to have bike body separation. What that means is that you will be facing forward, head down the trail, even though you're dipping the bike down in either direction, like you're not going with it. It's important therefore that you keep your legs wide and your seat down so you have as much range of motion as possible to corner the bike. So I'm gonna go here in the bottom of Rocky Branch and I'm gonna count each time that I'm carving or cornering. Maybe we'll do a tally. It should be a lot because the end of Rocky Branch has a lot of quick turns, and if you want to keep pace, which is really fun, and do no brakes, that's my no brake challenge, you have no choice but to be leaning the bike over. So let's hit it. All right, Rocky Branch, let's get some cornering happening. So there's one. Here's one. Whew. Right now, carve. Rider. This is a long carve, then a sharp one right here. Yeah. Carve here to get up the rocks. Nice. Woo. If you were considering subscribing, it's like 35-mile-an-hour winds and like 40 degrees May 1st. There's a quick carve and another one. Super important to not break. It actually snowed at my house, by the way, May 1st. Here's a carve, long range. Here's one, another one, another one. That's my favorite part. There's one. Long carve here, and a switchback carve here, and there's carve there. Just short little ones. Wow! Carve here. Brakes. Berm, not really a carve, just pushing, looking ahead. Carve here, big wide stance. Carve back, carve back, carve back. Big carve, carve. Made it. No brakes after the entrance of that berm. And no brakes elsewhere. Woo! So, carving or cornering the bike is really what unlocks that. Hopefully this has helped. Thanks again for liking the video, subscribing. See you next week.